Friends, if you're excited to watch the grand and powerful epic The King of Kings, 2025, in English, then make sure to like this video right now. It really helps us bring more amazing content to you. And if this is your first time visiting our channel, welcome aboard. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you stay updated with all the latest movie news, reviews, and deep dives. In today's video, we're going to take you on an incredible journey through everything you need to know about The King of Kings. This is not just a movie, it's an experience. So stay with us till the end, because we'll be covering every major detail. So what exactly is The King of Kings? What's the story behind the film? Where can you watch it? What makes this film stand out in 2025's lineup of big releases? That's exactly what we're here to talk about. We'll explore the complete background of the film, including its production journey, fascinating behind-the-scenes moments, the director's vision, and how this powerful story was brought to life on screen. And yes, if you're wondering which OTT platform or satellite channel will be showing this film, we've got that information for you too. Let's begin with how this film came to be. We'll take a look at the early stages of development, how the script was written, the inspiration behind the story, and how the cast and crew were brought together. From pre-production to the start of filming, we'll go into detail about the planning and research that went into recreating the world of ancient kingdoms, battles, and royalty with such authenticity. The scale of this film is massive, both in terms of visuals and storytelling, and we'll discuss how the makers achieved the scale. We'll then dive into the actual filming process. Where was The King of Kings shot? What kind of sets were built? How did the filmmakers use practical effects and CGI to create such a rich and immersive world? We'll talk about the stunning locations, massive crowd sequences, and the attention to historical detail that makes this movie so visually breathtaking. If you love learning about the filmmaking process, this part will definitely be a treat for you. Of course, no film is complete without its technical backbone, and The King of Kings is no exception. We'll look into the technical departments like cinematography, who was behind the camera, and what kind of visual language they used. We'll also talk about the sound design, costume design, production design, and how each department worked together to build a cinematic world that feels both grand and grounded. Then there's the music, the soul of the film. We'll tell you who composed the soundtrack, how it was recorded, and why it adds such a powerful emotional punch to every scene. After that, we'll move into the post-production phase, how the film was edited, how long it took to complete visual effects, and how the final product was shaped. We'll also tell you about the film's total budget and how much it cost to bring this story to life. And if you're curious about how the movie is performing in theaters, we'll share the latest box office collection reports too. Has it lived up to the hype? We'll find out. Now let's talk about the heart of the movie, the story. Without spoiling anything, we'll give you a brief overview of what The King of Kings is about, the time period it's set in, and the journey of the main character. What themes does it explore? Is it just a war drama, or is there more to it? Politics, sacrifice, betrayal, faith? I'll also share my short review of the story. How well it's told, whether it keeps the audience engaged, and what kind of emotions it evokes. If you're wondering whether the film is worth watching, this part will help you decide. We'll also talk about some really interesting facts about the film. Did you know some scenes were shot in extreme weather conditions? Or that certain actors went through intense physical training for their roles? We'll cover all those behind-the-scenes secrets that fans love to hear. These little nuggets of information really show how much passion and effort went into making this film. Next, we'll focus on the cast. Who are the lead actors in The King of Kings? What characters do they play? How strong are their performances? We'll talk about the standout performances, the chemistry between characters, and the emotional weight they bring to the story. You'll also get to know which actor played which role, and whether they were the right fit for their character. We'll even highlight a few memorable scenes that showcase their acting at its best. So friends, if you're someone who enjoys movies that are rich in history, filled with drama, packed with action, and layered with deep storytelling, The King of Kings is a film you shouldn't miss. And if you love knowing all the details, from production to post-release buzz, you're in the right place. Stay tuned till the very end of this video, because we're going to give you the full breakdown of everything you need to know before watching this movie. Alright then, let's not keep you waiting. Let's start the video and explore the world of The King of Kings. Alright friends, buckle up, Because The King of Kings doesn't just tell a story, it pulls you into an entire world, tears it apart in front of your eyes, and then asks you to make sense of the ruins. This is not your standard hero's journey where the chosen one rises, wins the battle, and walks off into the sunset. No, this film dares to be more. It messes with time. It plays with memory. It shifts perspective so often that by the end, you don't just know the story, you've lived it, questioned it, and maybe even doubted what you believed at the start. The story opens with darkness, literal and emotional. The camera floats through a battlefield that's already been lost. There's no heroic charge, no slow-motion victory moment. Just silence, ash, and the outline of a crumbled crown in the mud. Right away, it sets the tone. This is a tale of a kingdom after glory, a world held together by rituals and regrets. The voiceover doesn't explain, it laments. You don't meet the king at his strongest. You meet him at his most broken. And then, snap, we're thrown backward, not by a title card, but by a subtle shift in the light. One moment it's winter, the next it's a sun-drenched courtyard, full of life. Young nobles train with wooden swords. Music floats through palace walls. And there he is, the man who will become the King of Kings. But at this point, he's not a monarch. He's just a second son. Overshadowed. Intelligent, yes. Brave, absolutely. But ignored, underestimated, and perhaps most dangerous of all, idealistic. The film's narrative dances back and forth in time. Sometimes you jump 10 years in a single cut. Other times, it lingers for 20 minutes on a single day. But there's a method to the madness. Every flashback reveals a wound. Every forward leap shows the scar. It's like building a statue while simultaneously chipping pieces away. What remains by the end is the real story. The first major turning point comes with a rebellion, not just political, but personal. Our protagonist is forced into leadership when he least wants it. His elder brother, the rightful heir, is accused of treason in a jaw-dropping sequence that unfolds during a royal feast. No one raises a sword, but every word feels like a dagger. The room gets quieter with each accusation. You don't know who to trust, and neither does he. This is where the film starts to reveal its core tension. Power isn't just taken, it's offered, poisoned, and accepted out of necessity. From here, the emotional gears start grinding. He doesn't want to be king. He wants justice. He wants truth. But the court doesn't care about truth. It wants control. So begins his transformation, not into a warrior, but into a political survivor. He learns to smile while planning strategy, to forgive while plotting revenge, to lead while doubting himself. And here's where the film shines, because it doesn't just show you his choices. It shows you their cost. The love story, oh, it's not a side plot, it's a full-blown tragedy in 3 acts. He falls in love with a healer from a distant land. She speaks with fire, stands her ground, and believes in peace. She's his anchor in a world that's constantly pulling him into war. Their scenes together are quiet, often just whispers or glances, but the chemistry is undeniable. And of course, in true epic fashion, their love becomes political. Their marriage divides the court, and her ideals threaten the generals. You know it's doomed, but still you hope. Meanwhile, the war looms. The kingdom's borders are collapsing. One of the most powerful storytelling techniques the film uses is perspective shifting. One moment you're with the king, trying to unite his people. The next, you're in a rebel camp, hearing why he's considered a tyrant. Then you're following a common soldier who just wants to survive and go home. These changes don't confuse you, they enrich the story. Because suddenly, this isn't just his kingdom. It's everyone's. And everyone has a different version of the truth. One of the boldest narrative moves comes during the second act, where a major battle is not shown. That's right. The biggest, bloodiest clash in the kingdom's history? Skipped. You hear it. You feel it. But you never see it. Why? Because the film focuses on the people waiting for the outcome. The queen. The children. The servants. The ministers pacing the halls. That choice alone tells you what the story values. Impact over spectacle. Emotion over noise. Then comes the fallout. The king returns not victorious, but changed. Hardened. Detached. He speaks less. He trusts fewer people. The warmth he had is gone, and in its place is steel. And just when you think he's going full tyrant, the third act pulls the rug out. A long-forgotten prophecy resurfaces. Hidden letters are revealed, and the real reason his brother was framed comes crashing into the spotlight. Betrayal, it turns out, runs deeper than blood. The final scenes become a storm of revelations, and the king is forced to make the ultimate choice, not between victory and defeat, but between vengeance and peace. The ending isn't loud. It's quiet, devastatingly quiet. A single walk down a long corridor. A silent chamber. A crown that's placed not on a head, but on a stone. And in that moment, you realize, this was never about glory. It was about the cost of becoming a symbol. The journey of a man who never wanted power but wore it anyway because no one else could. So if you're expecting a straightforward story with clean acts and easy answers, think again. The King of Kings breaks all the rules. It weaves timelines like a tapestry. It plays with perspective like a chessboard. And most of all, it hits you where it hurts, in your heart, your faith, your sense of what makes a leader. It doesn't just entertain, it makes you feel. And long after the credits roll, you'll still be thinking about the choices made, the words unsaid, and the moments that changed everything. Oh, you want more? Great, because The King of Kings is a masterclass in character writing, and there's a lot more to unravel. These aren't just people wandering around in medieval costumes, reciting monologues. These are fully realized, painfully real human beings. Their dreams, failures, loyalties, and lies are stitched into every single frame of the film. Watching their growth isn't like watching plot points being checked off a list. It's like watching seeds being planted and slowly grow into twisted, tangled trees, each with their own shape, shade, and scars. Let's go deeper into the king himself. He starts off as a scholar, not a sword-swinging, chest-pounding alpha male. He's someone who prefers books over battles, who questions the traditions others worship, and that makes him dangerous. Not to his enemies, at first, but to his own people. His character arc is slow and brutal. You watch him try to stay true to his ideals as he climbs the throne. But the crown weighs heavier with every passing scene. He starts out wanting to protect the people, then realizes the people don't always want to be saved. They want order, they want vengeance, they want something he's not sure he can give. And that's the tragedy. He begins the story trying to be a good man, but to survive, he has to become a necessary one. There's one scene, midway through the film, where he's forced to execute someone he once considered a mentor. It's not just a power move. You can see it tear him apart. His hand trembles. His voice cracks. But he does it. And the look in his eyes afterward, that's not triumph. That's the beginning of a transformation that drives the rest of the story. He begins to shut himself off emotionally, surrounding himself with people who don't challenge him but echo him. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the boy with dreams becomes a king with regrets. And he knows it. That's what hits hardest. He's fully aware of who he's becoming, and he just hopes there's still something left of himself when the war is over. Now, let's dive deeper into the queen. She's not a trophy character. She's not the love interest who's just there to get kidnapped or cry on cue. She's a force. At the start, she's a foreign healer, mistrusted, looked down upon, and completely out of place in the royal court. But she never backs down. Her strength isn't in swinging a sword. It's in her voice, her mind, her integrity. While the king is learning to compromise, she's the one reminding him of who he used to be. Her arc is heartbreaking because you watch her fall in love with not just the man, but the idea of what he could be. And as the story progresses, you see that love tested to its breaking point. One particularly powerful moment comes when she has a choice: stand by her husband's latest decree or openly defy him in front of the council. And she defies him, not out of pride, but out of principle. That moment cracks their marriage open, and nothing is the same after. Let's go even further into the brother. Early on, he's painted as the villain. He's charismatic, sharp-tongued, the kind of character who can raise an eyebrow and make a room fall silent. But as the story unfolds, you realize his bitterness didn't come from ambition, it came from rejection. He wasn't just passed over for the throne. He was betrayed by the very system he dedicated his life to. Every cold glance, every harsh word, every calculated move, it's all defense. The truth? He's deeply lonely. He's a man who doesn't know who he is without power, and when it's taken from him, he spirals. But even at his worst, you get glimpses of the brother he once was. And it's those glimpses that make you want to forgive him, even when he's doing unforgivable things. His arc isn't redemption, it's the slow, painful realization that he was never the villain in his own mind, just the forgotten one. Let's also spend some time with the king's inner circle. There's the old general, grizzled, wise, loyal to a fault. He treats the king like a son, even when he doesn't agree with him. Their relationship is quietly tragic, especially as the king starts making harsher decisions. The general sees it all coming. He tries to warn him, but his voice grows smaller with every act of brutality. There's a moment where the general stands outside the war room, listening to decisions being made that he no longer has a say in. And he knows the kingdom he helped build is changing into something he might not recognize. Then there's the young scribe. Yes, the quiet character most people overlook in the first hour. But oh, the journey he takes. He starts off as a timid observer, a record keeper of royal affairs. But as the political schemes and backroom deals mount, he becomes the moral compass of the film. He starts questioning what's worth preserving, the truth or the legacy. And in one of the most powerful scenes, he hides a document that could destroy the king's image forever. Not out of fear, but out of mercy. That tiny act, it's not just character growth, it's a thematic gut punch. And let's not forget the rebel leader. A woman born in the shadows, forged in exile. She's not some mustache-twirling revolutionary. She's calm, educated, ruthless when needed, but never cruel. She believes the kingdom has lost its soul, and she's willing to do terrible things to restore it. What makes her compelling is that she doesn't hate the king. She respects him. She sees in him the person he could have been. Their confrontations are less like battle scenes, and more like philosophical duels. And the tension between them is electric, not romantic, but something deeper. Mutual disappointment. Two people who could have changed the world if they'd been on the same side. By the time the final act rolls in, nearly every character has transformed. Not always for the better, but always truthfully. You don't get those neat, tidy arcs where people end up happy and resolved. You get arcs that hurt, that linger. Characters who start off innocent end up bloodied. Characters who seem strong fall apart. Characters you thought were secondary suddenly become central. And every relationship, every friendship, every rivalry, every love goes through the ringer. This isn't a story about a king on a throne. It's about people. Scarred, ambitious, idealistic, broken, beautiful people. And their transformations are what make the entire film feel alive. You walk out of it not just remembering who lived or died. You remember who changed, who tried, who failed, and who finally understood that power, in the end, demands everything. Even the pieces of yourself you swore you'd never give up. You want more? Good, because the performances in The King of Kings are so rich, so layered, so meticulously detailed, that just scratching the surface would be a crime. This film doesn't just cast actors, it unleashes them. It hands them sprawling emotional terrains and says, go explore. And explore they do, ruthlessly, vulnerably, with a kind of precision that makes even a raised eyebrow feel like an act of war or a declaration of love. Every scene, every line delivery, feels like it's been forged in fire. This isn't just acting, it's alchemy. Let's go back to the king. The actor's journey is practically a study in transformation. At the beginning, he's all gentle conviction and hopeful energy. There's a youthful glint in his eye, like he still believes he can fix the world with policy and kindness. You feel how much he wants to be different from the kings before him. But as the story moves forward and betrayal sets in, watch his physicality change. His posture stiffens. His smiles fade into smirks, then into nothing at all. His voice lowers, like he's deliberately speaking from somewhere deeper in his soul, or what's left of it. The way he uses silence is incredible. He'll say nothing for a whole scene, and yet the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers twitch on the throne, tells you everything. One scene, late in the second act, he's confronted by a child, a peasant son, who asks him a simple question. Are you still the good king? The actor doesn't reply. He just stares at the boy with eyes so hollow, so worn down, you realize he's been asking himself the same thing for months. That's not a line. That's acting that cuts through the screen. And the queen, her performance could be its own masterclass. From her first appearance, she commands the room without even trying. She doesn't need grand gestures. Her power lies in control, tight, simmering, unshakable. The way she holds eye contact during confrontations, the way her voice stays calm even when her world is collapsing, it's mesmerizing. But what makes her performance devastating is how much she hides. She plays a woman constantly calculating how much truth she can afford to show, and every small crack in her mask becomes a full-on earthquake for the audience. There's a moment when she's alone, dressing a wound on her own arm, and it's completely silent, just her breathing, holding back tears, trying to stay composed. It's raw, it's personal, and it says more about her strength than any throne room scene ever could. The actress doesn't just play regal, she shows us the cost of it, the toll it takes to always be the one holding everyone else together. Now, let's unravel the brothers' performance. This is easily one of the most magnetic, unpredictable, emotionally explosive characters in the entire film. The actor gives us charm and venom in equal doses. One minute he's laughing with his comrades, and the next he's spitting fury at a council meeting like a man betrayed by fate itself. What's genius here is the fragility he tucks beneath all that bravado. He walks like a lion, but there's always a trace of fear in his eyes, as if he's constantly bracing for the next time someone lets him down. One scene in particular, where he finally confronts the king alone, no guards, no formality, his performance shifts gears so fast it's like emotional whiplash. He goes from sarcasm to sincerity to bitterness to pleading, all in a span of minutes. And not a second of it feels forced. It's messy, human, utterly captivating. Let's give credit to the unsung heroes of this cast, the supporting roles that sneak up on you. The old general is the definition of stoic pain. The actor brings a gravelly, mournful wisdom to every scene. He's the kind of character who's seen too much and says too little, but when he does speak, every word lands like thunder. His best moment, not a speech, it's a single nod, after a devastating loss, when he silently accepts the king's impossible command. That one gesture is a monologue in itself. And then there's the scribe, a role that could have easily been forgettable, but instead, the actor turns him into the conscience of the film. He starts as a wide-eyed observer, a little overwhelmed by court life. But slowly you see him harden. Not in a bitter way, but in a wise way. His arc is reflected in his voice, which starts off light and curious, and grows steadier, more precise, like he's learning how to speak truth to power. There's a heartbreaking moment when he's asked to rewrite a historical record, erase a massacre, smooth over a betrayal, and you watch him hesitate. You watch the war in his face. When he finally decides, he does it with tears in his eyes. That's nuance. That's performance. Let's not forget the rebel leader. Talk about presence. She doesn't walk into a scene, she claims it. Her performance is all quiet confidence and relentless belief. She speaks like every word is carved in stone, and the conviction in her voice is enough to rattle even the most powerful characters. But what's really amazing, the restraint. She doesn't play her as angry or chaotic. She plays her as someone who's already lost everything once, and now has nothing to lose. When she finally comes face to face with the king, their entire history is spoken without saying a word. Their eyes do all the work, and the actors trust the silence to carry the emotion. It's a duel of glances, and it's incredible. Even the background players shine. The royal guards aren't just set dressing. They feel like real people who've sworn their lives to a cause they might not fully understand. The servants have their own dynamics. The nobles have tiny, cutting lines that reveal entire backstories. There's even a grieving mother who appears in only one scene, but the actress's performance is so raw, so immediate, that it stays with you for the rest of the film. The casting in The King of Kings is perfect, yes, but it's what the actors do with those roles that makes the film feel like a living, breathing world. They don't just play emotions. They carry them through the way they walk, the way they breathe, the way they look at each other when they think no one's watching. These performances don't just enhance the story, they are the story. And by the time the credits roll, you're not thinking about the actors, you're thinking about the people they became. That's how good it is. All right, buckle up, because the direction in The King of Kings is a masterclass in filmmaking that deserves every bit of attention, and then some. The director isn't just calling the shots, they're crafting a universe, a living, breathing world where every frame feels intentional, every moment carries weight, and the audience is pulled deeper and deeper into a story that refuses to let go. Right from the opening sequence, the director makes a bold statement. This isn't a movie that slams you with spectacle to grab your attention. Instead, it lures you in slowly, like the quiet before a storm. The pacing here is deliberate, measured, almost meditative. The camera lingers on small details, a candle's flame trembling in a draft, the faint rustle of silk on stone walls, a distant crow's call. These moments might seem insignificant at first glance, but under the director's vision, they become the heartbeat of the kingdom. This patient approach demands that you lean in, that you really look and listen, and that's where the emotional power starts building. It's like the director is whispering to you. You're not just watching history unfold. You're stepping inside it. One of the director's most impressive feats is the way they balance scale and intimacy. We move seamlessly from grand, sweeping vistas of battlefields where thousands clash beneath stormy skies, to claustrophobic, candlelit chambers where secrets are whispered and betrayals plotted. These shifts aren't jarring. They feel like natural pulses of the kingdom's life. The wide shots make you feel the weight of history pressing down on everyone, while the close-ups remind you of the fragile human lives caught in the crossfire. This oscillation between the epic and the personal is handled with such finesse that it never feels like a gimmick. Instead, it becomes the film's emotional backbone. The director's control over pacing is another marvel. In an age where movies rush from one explosion to the next, here, patience is a virtue. The film breathes. Scenes unfold with a rhythm that mimics real life, sometimes languid and slow, sometimes tight and electric. That courtroom scene is a perfect example. What could easily become a dull, talky sequence instead crackles with tension because of the director's choreography. The camera doesn't just record the arguments, it dances around the room, catching shifting alliances in a glance, capturing subtle shifts in power through body language and silence. You feel like you're a fly on the wall, witnessing power play in its purest form. Visually, the director's choices are nothing short of poetry. Each shot feels meticulously composed, layered with symbolism that enriches the narrative without ever feeling heavy-handed. Look at how lighting is used. There's a masterful interplay of shadow and light that mirrors the moral ambiguity of the characters. When someone is caught in deceit, their face is half hidden, flickering between darkness and light. When hope blooms, the frame softens, bathing characters in warm, golden hues. This use of color and light tells stories within stories. Camera movement is equally thoughtful. The director knows when to hold steady, letting a shot simmer, and when to move urgently, thrusting you into chaos. The slow, gliding shot down the dining hall isn't just a clever technique. It's a narrative device, visually manifesting the emotional distance growing between the king and queen. When the camera drifts from the center of power toward the shadows, it's as if it's whispering the kingdom's secrets to you. But what really sets this direction apart is the way the director uses perspective and narrative structure to deepen the storytelling. There are moments where scenes are revisited from different points of view, not just to rehash the action, but to reveal hidden layers of meaning. A decision once thought noble becomes sinister when seen through the eyes of the oppressed. A gesture of love is reframed as manipulation. This storytelling technique doesn't just challenge the viewer, it invites them to question what they believe, to recognize the slippery nature of truth and power. It's daring, complex, and wildly effective. Transitions between scenes are treated with the same care and creativity. Instead of jarring cuts or generic fades, the director uses visual metaphors, like the falling feathers after a betrayal, to create emotional resonance. This recurring motif becomes a visual thread weaving through the film, a symbol of innocence lost and the fragile nature of trust. It's subtle enough to avoid cliché, yet powerful enough to stick in your mind long after the film ends. Sound design and ambient noise are also part of the director's toolkit. Silence isn't just absence, it's tension. The faint creak of a door, the distant murmur of unrest outside palace walls, the clink of a goblet. All these sounds are amplified or muted to shape the atmosphere. The director treats sound like a character, an unseen presence that heightens suspense or softens heartbreak. And let's not overlook the director's vision for the performances, which are choreographed to perfection. Actors are guided to deliver moments of explosive passion and quiet introspection with equal power. The director knows when to let scenes breathe and when to push them to a boiling point. The collaboration between director and cast creates an emotional ebb and flow that feels organic and utterly compelling. In essence, the director crafts The King of Kings not just as a film, but as an immersive experience. The tone fluctuates between majestic grandeur and raw, intimate drama, pulling the audience into the complex emotional web of power, loyalty, and betrayal. Every choice, whether it's a camera angle, a shift in lighting, a moment of silence, is carefully designed to deepen our connection to the story and its characters. By the time the story reaches its climax, the director's vision has taken full hold. You don't just understand the stakes, you feel them in your bones. The film's rhythm, visual style, and emotional depth work together like a finely tuned instrument, delivering a cinematic experience that lingers long after the screen goes dark. So, when you watch The King of Kings, you're not just watching a movie, you're stepping into a world meticulously crafted by a director who treats every detail as essential, every moment as sacred, and every frame as a canvas for storytelling that's as bold as it is beautiful. The cinematography in The King of Kings goes far beyond just capturing pretty pictures. It becomes a dynamic storyteller on its own, weaving layers of meaning through every shot, angle, and lighting choice. From the very first frame, you're enveloped in a world that feels both immense and intimately textured, as if the camera itself is a character with a pulse, guiding you through the emotional and political twists of the story. One of the first things that strikes you is the breathtaking scope of the wide shots. These sweeping vistas of sprawling kingdoms, jagged mountain ranges, and dense forests aren't just there for spectacle. They ground the story in a tangible world that feels ancient, vast, and alive. The cinematographer uses aerial shots and slow crane movements to immerse you in the landscape, creating a sense of scale that reminds you just how monumental the stakes are. When armies clash on these enormous battlefields, the sheer scale captured makes you feel the weight of history pressing down, like you're witnessing not just a fight between men, but a struggle for the soul of a nation. Yet, the film's beauty isn't confined to grandeur. The cinematography masterfully shifts gears to embrace intimacy, employing close-ups and shallow depth of field to isolate characters in moments of vulnerability or crisis. In these tighter frames, background distractions blur into nothingness, pulling your focus completely onto subtle facial expressions, a flicker of doubt in a king's eyes, the trembling of a queen's hand, the quiet despair of a trusted advisor. This contrast between vastness and intimacy is a constant rhythm in the film, reflecting the dual nature of a story. The clash between sweeping historical forces and the personal dramas unfolding beneath the surface. Lighting becomes a language of its own, painting mood and revealing unspoken emotions. Natural light plays a starring role in many scenes. Golden sunsets and misty dawns infuse the film with a painterly quality reminiscent of classical art. These warm tones evoke hope and renewal, as if the world itself is holding its breath for change. Then, the cinematographer isn't afraid to plunge the story into darkness, using deep shadows and muted blues to create an atmosphere heavy with suspicion and impending doom. Faces often linger in partial shadow, as if the characters themselves are half hidden from the truth or wrestling with secrets. This chiaroscuro effect isn't just stylish, it's deeply symbolic, turning light and shadow into metaphors for power, truth, and deception. Angles are deployed with meticulous precision to manipulate our emotional response. Low angles dominate scenes of power, making kings and generals appear larger than life, statuesque embodiments of authority. Yet these shots are balanced with high-angle views that diminish characters when they are vulnerable or trapped, reinforcing their fragility. There's a particularly haunting sequence where the camera watches the king from above as he walks alone through his empty palace corridors, underscoring his isolation despite his grandeur. The cinematographer's ability to switch perspective not only adds visual interest, but deepens our understanding of each character's inner world. Framing within the scenes is an art form in itself. Symmetry and asymmetry are carefully used to signal balance or discord. The royal council meetings, for example, are framed with almost surgical precision, each member positioned deliberately within the shot to highlight shifting alliances or growing tensions. Mirrors and reflections make recurring appearances, fracturing images of characters and hinting at duplicity or fractured identities. A memorable scene has the queen staring into a shattered mirror, her fragmented reflection perfectly capturing her own internal conflict and the broken state of the kingdom. Camera movement is equally expressive and varied. The film balances static, composed shots that let tension simmer, with fluid tracking and handheld sequences that immerse you in moments of chaos or emotional upheaval. The palace corridors are often captured with smooth tracking shots that follow characters like shadows, creating a sense of constant surveillance and unseen danger. During battle scenes, the camera becomes frenetic and swirling, mirroring the confusion and adrenaline of combat, yet the chaos never devolves into incoherence. The cinematography guides you through the turmoil with unerring clarity. Some moments in the film are simply unforgettable due to their striking visual design. Take the rain-soaked courtyard scene, where slow-motion droplets fall like silver threads around the solitary figure of the king. The light refracts through the water, turning the scene into an almost surreal tableau of loneliness and contemplation. It's a moment of poetic stillness amidst the storm of the narrative. Another standout is a funeral procession through a mist-enshrouded forest, where muted tones and soft focus transform the somber march into a ghostly elegy for a fading era. Depth of field is skillfully manipulated to shape perspective and focus. In moments of emotional intensity, shallow focus isolates characters, creating a bubble where only their emotions exist. Conversely, deep focus is used to great effect in scenes involving political intrigue, where multiple players share the frame, each performing subtle reactions and strategic glances that build a layered, tension-filled tableau. Watching these scenes is like witnessing a silent game of chess, where every look counts as much as every word spoken. Color grading is a quiet but powerful narrator throughout the film. Early sequences bask in earthy, warm hues that suggest stability and tradition. As the story darkens, the palette shifts to colder blues and grays, drained of warmth except for occasional bursts of vivid red, symbolizing blood, passion, and betrayal. This shifting palette not only tracks the narrative's emotional arc but immerses the viewer in the psychological landscape of the characters, making color a vital emotional cue. The cinematographer also excels in capturing subtle, tactile details that enrich the world-building. The steam rising from a cup of tea, flickering shadows cast by torchlight, rain tracing patterns on ancient stone. These small moments contribute to a rich sensory experience, grounding the film's epic scope in tangible reality. Sound and visual elements often combine to heighten tension and atmosphere. The camera lingers on silent, loaded moments, the tightening of a hand on a sword hilt, a lingering glance exchanged across a crowded room, enhancing suspense and drawing you into the character's inner turmoil without a single word spoken. In The King of Kings, the cinematography never feels like a mere technical exercise. It's a vivid storyteller that pulls you through the grand scale of kingdoms and the quietest recesses of the human heart with equal mastery. Every shot is a brushstroke on a vast canvas, every frame a chapter in an unfolding epic. Watching the film is like stepping into a living painting, one full of power, passion, and the delicate interplay of light and shadow that defines the fate of kings and kingdoms alike. Editing and pacing in The King of Kings function like the unseen heartbeat of the entire film, orchestrating an intricate balance between calm and chaos, tension and release, anticipation and revelation. The editors don't just cut and splice scenes, they craft a rhythm that pulls you through the narrative like a carefully composed symphony, where every beat matters and the silences between notes speak volumes. From the first frame to the last, the flow of the film feels alive, breathing with the emotions and energy of the story it tells. At the outset, the pacing eases you gently into this vast, epic world. Instead of bombarding you with rapid-fire scenes or exposition dumps, the editing favors lingering moments that invite you to settle in and absorb the atmosphere. Long takes hold your attention, letting you savor the intricate details of the setting, costumes, and subtle acting beats. These extended shots create a sense of patience and contemplation, encouraging you to connect with the characters' internal struggles and the weight of their circumstances. This deliberate pacing can feel almost meditative at times, as if you're walking alongside the characters, feeling their doubts and hopes as your own. However, this isn't a film that stays slow and steady throughout. The editors expertly modulate the tempo, accelerating the pace at just the right moments to inject energy and urgency. When the plot calls for it, during battles, heated confrontations, or pivotal plot twists, the cuts become faster, more kinetic and sharper. Rapid intercutting between different characters' perspectives creates a mosaic of action and reaction that immerses you fully in the chaos without overwhelming your understanding. The editing here isn't frenetic for its own sake. Every jump cut and quick transition serves to heighten tension, propel the story forward, and place you right in the thick of the conflict. What makes the editing truly impressive is how seamless the transitions feel, even when the narrative shifts across time, place, or tone. The editors weave visual and thematic threads that connect scenes with elegant fluidity. Maybe a close-up of a candle's flame fading out leads to a dawn breaking over the kingdom, or a door shutting on one character opens onto a secret meeting elsewhere. These creative transitions keep the film feeling cohesive and purposeful, subtly reinforcing the emotional or narrative linkages between scenes. You never get jarred out of the story. Instead, you glide from one moment to the next, often without realizing the clever craft behind it. The narrative occasionally flirts with non-linearity, revisiting events from different perspectives or showing parallel storylines unfolding simultaneously. The editing handles these shifts with care, ensuring clarity while adding layers of intrigue. Instead of confusing you, these temporal jumps enrich the story, allowing you to piece together the complex motivations and hidden connections that drive the plot. The rhythm created by these overlapping scenes keeps you intellectually engaged, turning watching the film into an active experience of discovery. Dialogue scenes in The King of Kings receive special editorial attention as well. Rather than chopping rapidly between speakers or relying heavily on reaction shots, the editing respects the natural flow of conversation. This measured approach allows actors to fully inhabit their lines and expressions, making exchanges feel authentic and emotionally resonant. The pacing within these scenes mimics real-life speech patterns, with pauses and silences left intact to heighten tension or allow feelings to settle. It's a subtle but powerful choice that deepens the audience's emotional connection to the characters. Montages are sprinkled in with precise timing and purpose. When the story needs to compress time or illustrate broader themes, like the passing of seasons, the growth of tension within the kingdom, or the mounting preparations for war, the editors assemble sequences that flow smoothly without feeling rushed or artificial. These montages blend imagery, music, and sound design to convey complex ideas economically, offering moments of reflection amidst the unfolding drama. Parallel editing is another technique that shines here. By cutting between contrasting scenes, political scheming in shadowy chambers and soldiers bracing on the battlefield, the editors heighten suspense and underscore the interconnectedness of events. Watching these threads weave together creates a tapestry of cause and effect, where every whispered conspiracy or battle cry resonates throughout the kingdom. The tension ratchets up as the parallel storylines hurtle toward collision, keeping viewers on the edge of their seats. Despite these bursts of energy and complexity, the editing never feels showy or self-conscious. There's a disciplined restraint that serves the story first and foremost. No gimmicky jump cuts, flashbacks that confuse rather than clarify, or overuse of rapid-fire sequences. Instead, the cuts are clean, purposeful, and thoughtfully placed, allowing the narrative and performances to shine through without distraction. The editing respects the audience's intelligence, trusting you to follow the story's rhythm and pick up on visual cues without heavy-handed manipulation. As the film moves into its final act, the pacing gradually accelerates, mirroring the rising stakes and mounting pressure on the characters. The editing tightens the focus, cutting more rapidly between key players and escalating conflicts. This increasing tempo builds a palpable sense of urgency, tension, and impending climax, yet still maintains emotional clarity and depth. Moments that might feel rushed in lesser hands are given the breathing room they deserve here, with carefully timed pauses that let the weight of decisions and sacrifices hit home. Small editorial details further enrich the experience. The timing of reaction shots, the length of pauses between lines, the rhythm of cross-cutting, all contribute to the emotional cadence that makes the story resonate deeply. Even silent moments, like a lingering glance, a clenched fist, or a slow exhale, are given space to communicate volumes, turning subtlety into power. Overall, the editing and pacing in The King of Kings act as the invisible thread weaving together the film's sprawling narrative, emotional depth, and visual grandeur. The rhythm crafted by the editors shapes your experience, balancing moments of reflection with bursts of adrenaline and guiding you through a richly layered story that unfolds with elegance and impact. It's a masterclass in how editing can elevate a film from mere storytelling to a fully immersive journey that keeps you hooked from start to finish. The soundtrack and score of The King of Kings are nothing short of a masterclass in musical storytelling, serving as the film's emotional backbone and atmospheric enhancer in ways that might surprise even the most casual viewer. The music isn't just there to fill the silence or provide dramatic cues. It's an active participant in the narrative, shaping how you feel about the story, the characters, and the world they inhabit. From the opening moments, the score sets a tone that is both majestic and intimate, inviting you into a sprawling epic while keeping the emotional stakes deeply personal. One of the first things you notice about the soundtrack is its sweeping orchestral power. The composer employs a full symphonic palette, rich strings that can soar like eagles over vast landscapes, bold brass that commands attention with regal gravitas, and subtle woodwinds that whisper secrets in the quieter, more introspective scenes. This wide range of instrumentation allows the music to capture the film's many moods, from the awe-inspiring grandeur of royal ceremonies to the tense uncertainty of private, conflicted moments. The orchestral score never feels generic or one-dimensional. Instead, it's carefully crafted to reflect the complexity and depth of the story unfolding on screen. Recurring musical motifs play a crucial role in creating a sense of cohesion and emotional resonance throughout the film. These motifs are cleverly associated with specific characters, themes, or locations, serving as auditory callbacks that remind you of important narrative elements even when they're not explicitly mentioned. For example, the protagonist's theme is both noble and tinged with melancholy, capturing his burden and inner turmoil. This motif recurs in various forms, sometimes bold and assertive during moments of leadership, other times quiet and fragile in scenes of doubt or loss, giving the audience a subtle guide to his emotional journey. Similarly, antagonistic or ominous motifs emerge during scenes of threat or betrayal, adding a layer of foreboding that enhances the tension without needing visual exposition. The soundtrack's nuanced use of silence is just as impactful as the music itself. The composer and director clearly understand that sometimes what's not played is just as important as what is. Moments of quiet allow the emotional weight of a scene to settle and breathe, making the characters' expressions, dialogue, or even ambient sounds resonate more deeply. This thoughtful silence prevents the score from becoming overwhelming or manipulative, instead creating a balanced soundscape where music and quietude work hand in hand to evoke emotion. It's in these silent pauses that tension tightens or sorrow deepens, showing real restraint and confidence in the storytelling. One of the most impressive qualities of the score is its dynamic relationship with the narrative. The music doesn't just sit under the dialogue or action, it ebbs and flows with the story's pacing and emotional arcs. In quieter, reflective scenes, the score is subtle and understated, almost like a gentle undercurrent that supports the mood without pulling focus. But when the plot demands it, whether in sweeping battle sequences, moments of revelation, or climactic confrontations, the music bursts forth with dramatic intensity, swelling to fill the screen with powerful waves of sound that elevate the impact. These shifts feel natural and earned, never jarring or out of place, which speaks to the skillful collaboration between composer and editor. In addition to the traditional orchestral elements, the soundtrack incorporates touches of regional and period-appropriate instruments, adding authenticity and texture to the film's soundscape. These traditional instruments, perhaps a plaintive flute, resonant drums, or a haunting lyre, ground the score in the cultural and historical context of the story, enriching the film's world-building. These elements add a layer of sonic detail that transports you not just visually but aurally, making the setting feel vivid and tangible. This approach also highlights the film's themes of heritage, legacy, and the passage of time, as the music bridges the ancient and the contemporary. There are also subtle modern influences woven into the score, with electronic textures or synthesized sounds gently underpinning certain scenes. These contemporary touches are tastefully done, providing contrast and freshness without clashing with the historical tone. This blending of old and new in the music mirrors the film's narrative themes, tradition meeting change, past colliding with present, and adds an unexpected but welcome dimension to the soundtrack. The timing of musical cues is another area where the score truly shines. The editor and composer have a finely tuned sense of how music can amplify emotion or heighten suspense. During moments of moral conflict, loss, or personal revelation, the music swells just enough to tug at your heartstrings without tipping into melodrama. Conversely, triumphant fanfares and uplifting themes during victories and moments of hope make you share in the characters' joy and relief. The ebb and flow of the music's intensity mirrors the story's emotional peaks and valleys perfectly, helping you stay fully engaged throughout the film's runtime. Certain tracks stand out as unforgettable musical highlights, lingering in the mind long after the credits roll. These themes are crafted with such emotional richness and memorable melodies that they become synonymous with the film's identity. Listening to these pieces alone transports you back into the world of the King of Kings, recalling key moments, characters, and emotions with vivid clarity. They work like musical bookmarks, encapsulating the film's spirit and sound. In battle sequences, the score plays a particularly pivotal role. Fast-paced, rhythmic percussion combined with intense brass and strings create a sense of urgency and chaos that immerses you in the heat of combat. Yet even in these frenetic moments, the music never overwhelms the scene. Instead, it guides your emotional response, highlighting the bravery, fear, and desperation of the characters involved. Throughout the film, the soundtrack and score serve not just as accompaniment, but as narrative tools in their own right. They signal shifts in mood, foreshadow events, and deepen character arcs, often saying what dialogue cannot. This musical storytelling enhances your connection to the film, making the experience richer, more layered, and deeply affecting. Ultimately, the music of the King of Kings is a vital part of what makes the film memorable. Its ability to balance sweeping grandeur with intimate emotion, tradition with innovation, and sound with silence creates a sonic world as compelling and complex as the visual one. The score doesn't just support the story, it elevates it, turning the film into an immersive journey where every note matters and every silence speaks volumes. The King of Kings is much more than just a visually stunning epic packed with battles and royal intrigues. It's a rich exploration of themes and messages that resonate on many levels, inviting viewers to reflect on the very essence of power, responsibility, identity, and the human condition. These deeper ideas aren't simply layered on as afterthoughts or surface-level moral lessons. Instead, they pulse through every scene and character arc, shaping the narrative and elevating the film into something thoughtful and thought-provoking. At the heart of the film lies a profound meditation on power, what it truly means to hold it, the temptations it brings, and the sacrifices it demands. Power here is portrayed not as a glorious, straightforward gift, but as a complex, often burdensome force that changes those who wield it. The king embodies this complexity perfectly. His journey reveals how power can isolate, corrupt, and weigh heavily on the soul. We see that the crown isn't just a symbol of authority, but a heavy yoke filled with difficult choices that blur the line between right and wrong. Through his struggles, the film asks you to question the nature of leadership. Is it about strength, wisdom, compassion, or sheer survival? And is it possible to be a benevolent ruler in a world that often rewards ruthlessness? Closely intertwined with this is the theme of sacrifice, an ever-present undercurrent that adds emotional depth and gravity to the story. The sacrifices depicted aren't just those of warriors on the battlefield. They are intimate and personal as well. Characters give up love, trust, innocence, and sometimes their very selves for a cause larger than themselves. The film refuses to sugarcoat these sacrifices. Instead, it shows the real, raw cost of heroism and duty. Whether it's a parent sending their child into danger, a friend betraying another for the greater good, or a ruler giving up personal happiness to protect a kingdom, the theme of sacrifice permeates every major turning point. It reminds viewers that greatness often comes with pain, loss, and loneliness. The concept of legacy weaves its way through the film as a haunting and powerful idea. The characters are constantly reminded that they stand on the shoulders of their ancestors and that their actions will ripple forward into the future, shaping how they will be remembered. This isn't just about statues or stories passed down. It's about the moral and ethical footprints one leaves behind. The king wrestles with the burden of living up to his predecessors while trying to forge a new path, aware that history is both a guide and a prison. The film encourages viewers to think about their own legacies. How much control do we really have over how we are remembered? Can we break free from the mistakes of the past, or are we bound to repeat them endlessly? Leadership is dissected with a nuanced hand throughout the film, peeling away the romanticized veneer to reveal its complicated, often harsh realities. Leadership is shown not as a position of privilege, but as a relentless responsibility filled with impossible decisions. The film highlights how leaders must constantly navigate a labyrinth of political intrigue, personal loyalties, and moral ambiguity. It emphasizes that leadership requires more than courage. It demands empathy, foresight, and sometimes ruthless pragmatism. The interplay between the king and his council, soldiers, and family members highlights the fragile alliances and competing interests that define governance. This exploration is both timeless and timely, offering insight into the nature of power and responsibility in any era. Justice and morality thread through the film's fabric like a complex tapestry, presenting characters and situations that challenge black and white thinking. The story deliberately avoids easy answers about who is right or wrong, instead immersing viewers in a world of shades of gray. Characters face moral dilemmas that force them to choose between competing goods or lesser evils, showing that justice is rarely simple or pure. This moral complexity makes the narrative richer and more engaging, encouraging viewers to empathize with characters on all sides and reflect on their own beliefs about fairness and ethics. The theme of identity adds another rich layer to the film, particularly as characters grapple with the tension between their personal desires and the roles imposed on them by society, family, or fate. This struggle is portrayed with subtlety and emotional honesty, giving the film a deeply human dimension. Whether it's the king trying to reconcile his private doubts with his public duties or supporting characters wrestling with secrets and self-doubt, the theme of identity invites viewers to consider the masks we wear and the true selves hidden beneath. It's a universal theme that resonates long after the story ends. The tension between tradition and change is another major motif, perfectly capturing the film's historical and thematic context. The narrative is set at a crossroads where ancient customs and emerging new ways clash, creating friction not just in politics but in personal lives. This conflict drives much of the film's drama, as characters debate whether to cling to the past or embrace the future, and whether identity is preserved through continuity or redefined through innovation. This theme feels especially relevant today, reflecting ongoing cultural debates about progress, heritage, and identity. The film uses this tension to explore how societies evolve and how individuals navigate the shifting sands of time. Nature and fate provide a poetic backdrop to the film's grand human drama. The ever-changing natural world, from stormy skies to quiet forests, mirrors the internal turmoil of characters and the unpredictability of their journeys. The film subtly suggests that despite human ambition and struggle, forces larger than ourselves shape destiny. This philosophical layer adds depth and invites reflection on the balance between free will and destiny, and on humanity's place within the broader cosmos. It's a reminder that even the mightiest kings are part of something greater and often unknowable. What makes these themes so compelling is the film's skill in communicating them without heavy-handed exposition or moralizing. Instead, they emerge organically through character interactions, visual symbolism, and emotional beats. The storytelling trusts the audience to connect the dots and find meaning beneath the surface, which makes the experience more engaging and rewarding. Symbolic imagery, subtle dialogue, and recurring motifs work together to create a rich thematic tapestry that invites viewers to explore ideas at their own pace. Ultimately, the themes and messages of the King of Kings linger in your mind long after the final scene. They challenge you to think about the complexities of power, the sacrifices behind leadership, the nature of justice, and the search for identity. The film doesn't offer neat answers, but presents a world full of contradictions and hard choices, much like real life. It's this thoughtful exploration beneath the film's epic surface that gives it depth, making it more than just a story of kings and battles, but a timeless reflection on human nature, society, and the forces that shape our lives. When diving deeper into the visual effects and CGI of the King of Kings, it's clear that the filmmakers invested a tremendous amount of thought and craftsmanship into making these elements feel like an organic extension of the story rather than just flashy digital showpieces. From the very first frame, The seamless integration between practical effects and CGI creates an immersive world that pulls you in completely, avoiding the jarring disconnect that sometimes happens in effects-heavy movies. This film understands that the true power of visual effects lies in supporting the narrative and enhancing the atmosphere, rather than simply dazzling the audience with spectacle. One of the most remarkable aspects of the film's approach is the way it balances practical effects, real sets, costumes, props, and stunts, with cutting-edge digital techniques. This blend breathes life into the medieval world in a way that pure CGI can't replicate. There's a tangible texture to everything you see, from the worn leather armor and intricate tapestries to the muddy battlefield trenches, which grounds the fantasy in a gritty realism. When CGI steps in, it's usually to amplify and expand what's already there, adding scale, depth, or subtle environmental touches that would be impossible to achieve practically. This combination gives the film a grounded authenticity while still allowing for grand, cinematic moments. Take, for example, the massive battle scenes that feel like they could swallow you whole. These sequences expertly combine thousands of extras filmed on location with digital crowd multiplication and dynamic effects like swirling dust, flying arrows, and the clashing of metal. What's especially impressive is how the CGI doesn't just replicate numbers. It adds layers of chaos and movement that give the battles a palpable energy. The camera swoops and weaves through the fighting, and you can almost feel the tension and adrenaline pulsing through the frame. The digital effects blend so naturally with the live-action footage that you never pause to think about what's real and what's computer-generated. It all just feels like part of the same living, breathing world. The film's use of CGI for environmental effects is equally masterful. Shifting weather, smoke rolling over hills, flickering torchlight, and even magical phenomena are all enhanced with digital artistry that feels subtle yet powerful. These effects don't shout for attention, but instead create a rich, atmospheric backdrop that shapes the mood of each scene. Whether it's a foreboding storm gathering before a key battle, or the faint shimmer of enchanted light in a quiet forest, the visual effects team uses these details to deepen the storytelling, inviting the audience into the emotional and symbolic layers of the narrative. When it comes to fantasy elements, magical swords, ethereal spirits, and mystical landscapes, the CGI here strikes the perfect tone. The effects are visually stunning but never overdone, maintaining a believable logic within the film's world. They add a sense of wonder and mystery without tipping into cartoonish excess. The glowing runes on a sword or the delicate translucence of a spirit feel like natural extensions of the story's mythos, helping to create a fully realized universe that respects both realism and fantasy. This careful balance makes the magical elements feel integrated and meaningful, not just decorative or gimmicky. Creature design and animation are another area where the visual effects shine. The mythical beasts and otherworldly creatures are rendered with incredible attention to detail, from the texture of their scales or fur to their fluid, lifelike movements. These aren't static monsters or background effects. They're characters in their own right, interacting convincingly with the actors and environment. Watching these creatures move and react feels like witnessing real, living beings, which adds a thrilling layer of immersion and emotional stakes to the film. Whether it's a terrifying war beast charging into battle or a mysterious guardian appearing at a crucial moment, the CGI creatures feel tangible and believable. The lighting and color grading applied to CGI shots also deserves detailed praise. One of the biggest challenges with visual effects is ensuring that digital elements match the natural lighting and tone of live-action footage. The King of Kings excels here, with effects that mirror the film's overall color palette: weather-warm, golden sunlight filtering through castle halls or the cold, blue hues of a moonlit battlefield. Shadows fall naturally, highlights gleam just right, and reflections and textures behave as expected, creating a seamless visual harmony. This consistency avoids the disorienting feeling that sometimes occurs when CGI clashes visually with the real footage, helping maintain immersion throughout the film. It's also worth mentioning how the filmmakers avoided the temptation to lean heavily on CGI for every scene. Instead, they use it thoughtfully and sparingly, choosing practical effects and real-world sets whenever possible to preserve authenticity. CGI steps in when necessary to create vast landscapes, impossible stunts, or fantastical elements, but it's never a crutch. This careful allocation of digital effects ensures that the film retains a timeless quality, combining the tactile richness of traditional filmmaking with the limitless possibilities of modern technology. In addition, the team's work on integrating digital doubles and stunt enhancements is subtle but crucial. When action sequences demand dangerous or complex moves, CGI seamlessly takes over to keep the intensity high without compromising safety or realism. The digital doubles move fluidly and naturally, with no awkward transitions between actor and effects. This invisible hand of CGI artistry means you get thrilling, high-stakes action that feels grounded and visceral, rather than overly stylized or artificial. The sound design works in tandem with the visual effects to heighten the sensory experience. Explosions, clashes of swords, the rustling of armor, and the growls or roars of mythical creatures all sync perfectly with the visual elements, making every effect feel alive and immediate. This audio-visual harmony enhances immersion and makes the digital effects even more believable and impactful. Overall, the visual effects and CGI in The King of Kings go far beyond mere spectacle. They're carefully crafted tools used to deepen the story's emotional impact, expand its mythic scale, and create a believable, living world where fantasy and history intertwine. The effects invite you to lose yourself in the film's sweeping vistas and intense battles while keeping you emotionally grounded through detailed, realistic touches. It's a brilliant example of how modern visual effects, when used with intention and skill, can transform a movie into a cinematic experience that feels both epic and authentic. The set design and locations in The King of Kings go well beyond mere decoration. They form the very backbone of the film's immersive world, pulling the audience deep into its historical and emotional landscape. Every inch of the environments feels painstakingly crafted, as if the filmmakers have invited you not just to watch the story but to step into a living, breathing era where every prop, building, and natural feature tells its own story. This attention to world building creates a rich, layered experience that feels tangible and alive rather than just a movie set dressed up for the camera. From the start, the locations chosen for filming play a huge role in establishing the scale and authenticity of the story. Instead of relying mostly on CGI or studio sets, the production embraces real historical sites. Ancient castles perched on cliffs, sprawling medieval villages nestled in valleys, dense, shadowy forests that seem to hold secrets, and vast open fields that stretch out to the horizon. These real-world locations bring a physicality and authenticity to the film that's hard to replicate with digital effects alone. You can almost smell the damp stone walls, hear the creak of wooden carts, and feel the chill of mist rolling off a river in the morning. This kind of sensory detail anchors the film's epic story in a believable world. The production design team's craftsmanship shines in the way they transform these locations with meticulous set dressing and props to reflect the film's historical period and cultural context. Every element, whether it's a weathered banner hanging from a castle turret, a rustic wooden cart piled high with produce in a village market, or the intricate carvings on a royal throne, has been chosen or created with painstaking care. These details don't just decorate the scenes, they enrich them, hinting at the backstory of the world, the lives of its inhabitants, and the passage of time. The worn edges on weapons, the chipped paint on doors, the faded colors of tapestries, all of these small touches add texture and depth that make the environments feel authentic and lived in. What's fascinating is how the sets and locations do double duty, acting as silent storytellers that reveal social hierarchies and emotional states. For example, the contrast between the opulent, gleaming interiors of royal courts and the rough, humble dwellings of peasants visually underscore themes of power, inequality, and ambition without a single line of dialogue. The grandeur of high stone walls, polished floors, and ornate chandeliers conveys wealth and authority, but also isolation and burden. Meanwhile, cramped, smoky kitchens and muddy village squares highlight struggle, resilience, and community. This visual storytelling adds layers of meaning that enrich character motivations and conflicts, letting viewers read the world as much as the script. The use of natural settings is also cleverly woven into the film's emotional narrative. The filmmakers use wide, panoramic shots of breathtaking landscapes to evoke a sense of scale, destiny, and awe. Rolling hills bathed in golden sunlight can suggest hope or renewal, while gnarled trees silhouetted against stormy skies can foreshadow conflict or loss. These natural elements aren't just background, they interact with the characters and story, influencing mood and tone. The shifting light and weather conditions act almost like a secondary narrative voice, echoing the internal journeys of the characters and the larger themes of the film. Inside the castles and fortresses, the set design continues to impress with a level of detail and scale that immerses the audience in medieval life. Massive stone archways, vaulted ceilings, and intricately carved wooden furniture create spaces that feel majestic yet lived in. The lighting here is masterfully done, with flickering torchlight casting dynamic shadows that shift with the action, adding atmosphere and suspense. These sets aren't static, they become part of the narrative, shaping how characters move, where secrets are hidden, and how power is physically manifested. Walking through these halls with the characters feels like a journey through history itself. Another compelling layer is how the set design visually echoes the film's themes. For example, dilapidated or partially ruined castles often symbolize fading glory, lost honor, or internal decay, subtly reinforcing plot points and character arcs. Conversely, newly built or well-maintained structures may represent hope, rebirth, or the ambition to forge a new future. This symbolic use of space and setting invites viewers to look deeper and connect emotionally with the story's bigger ideas without overt exposition. Even the smallest details in the production design contribute to this immersive experience. The placement of objects like candles, plates, weapons, and scrolls is carefully considered to enhance authenticity and mood. Fabrics show realistic wear, metals gleam or tarnish appropriately, and food in scenes looks appetizing or rough depending on the context. These nuanced touches avoid feeling like stage dressing. Instead, they make the environment believable and consistent, helping the audience suspend disbelief and engage fully with the film's world. The film's locations also cleverly support the pacing and tone of the narrative. Quiet, intimate moments unfold in cozy, enclosed interiors that foster emotional connection and tension, while grander confrontations and battles take place in sprawling outdoor spaces that emphasize scale and spectacle. The contrast between tight, claustrophobic rooms and wide-open fields keeps the visual storytelling dynamic and engaging, helping the film maintain momentum and variety. This thoughtful use of space not only serves the plot, but also subtly influences how the audience experiences each scene. Battle sequences especially benefit from the film's thoughtful set and location choices. The terrain itself becomes a strategic and dramatic character. Hills, forests, rivers, and fortifications shape how combat unfolds. Muddy trenches, shattered wood, and scattered debris make the violence feel visceral and immediate, while the natural environment adds realism and stakes. These carefully chosen and designed locations give the battles a sense of unpredictability and danger, raising the tension and making the action more thrilling. Ultimately, the set design and locations in The King of Kings do more than just provide a visually stunning backdrop, they actively shape the story's emotional and thematic resonance. The blend of authentic historical sites, painstakingly crafted sets, and evocative natural landscapes creates a rich, textured world that feels both epic and intimate. This deep, immersive world-building invites viewers to lose themselves in the film's sweeping saga, proving just how powerful and essential great production design is to bringing a story to life. The dialogue and script in The King of Kings are truly a masterclass in storytelling through words, weaving together a rich blend of sharp wit, emotional depth, and authentic voice that keeps the audience fully engaged from start to finish. What sets the script apart is its ability to sound effortlessly natural, even though it operates within a historical context that could easily feel stiff or archaic in less skilled hands. The characters speak with a cadence and tone that feel real and relatable, not like they're delivering lines written solely for the audience's benefit. This naturalism helps create a genuine connection between the viewer and the characters, making every conversation feel alive and immediate. The script's natural flow is one of its greatest strengths. Whether it's a formal royal decree, a casual exchange between friends, or a heated argument, the dialogue maintains a believable rhythm that reflects each character's background, personality, and emotional state. Kings and queens command with a measured authority that never feels forced, while common folk speak with a warmth and earthiness that grounds the film in its world. This variety in speech patterns and vocabulary enriches the film's texture and helps build fully fleshed-out characters, who seem to exist beyond the screen. The audience is never jarred by awkward or unnatural phrasing. Instead, the words seem to come directly from the characters' hearts and minds. Humor also plays a key role in the script, often surfacing when you least expect it, like a witty quip cutting through the tension or a sarcastic remark from a side character that lightens the mood. These moments of levity feel earned and perfectly timed, never detracting from the serious tone of the film, but rather humanizing the characters and making their struggles more relatable. The humor arises naturally from the characters' personalities and situations. Sometimes it's dry and subtle, other times it's more playful, but it always adds a delightful layer to the storytelling. These lighter moments provide a much-needed balance and prevent the film from becoming too heavy or solemn. Emotionally, the dialogue packs a punch. The script dives deep into the characters' psyches, exploring their fears, hopes, regrets, and desires with honesty and nuance. Conversations between characters often reveal hidden vulnerabilities and internal conflicts, giving the audience insight into what drives their actions and decisions. These emotional exchanges feel raw and sincere, avoiding melodrama in favor of subtlety and complexity. Whether it's a heartfelt confession of love, a bitter confrontation fueled by betrayal, or a quiet moment of introspection, the words resonate with authenticity and power. The emotional weight carried by the dialogue allows the audience to empathize with the characters and become invested in their journeys. Memorable lines pepper the script throughout the film, acting as emotional and thematic touchstones that echo in the mind long after viewing. Some of these lines offer profound reflections on fate, honor, and power, distilled into succinct, poetic phrases that elevate key scenes. Others are witty, biting, or sharply insightful, providing moments of clarity or humor that stick with you. These standout quotes not only enhance the film's impact, but also help define its tone and message, creating a lasting impression. They often encapsulate the essence of a character or a pivotal moment in the narrative, becoming rallying cries or quiet revelations that deepen the story's resonance. The script excels in how it uses dialogue to reveal character relationships and dynamics. Interactions between characters aren't just functional, they're charged with underlying emotions, shifting alliances, and power plays. Through carefully crafted exchanges, the script exposes tensions, loyalties, and unspoken thoughts, making the relationships feel complex and layered. For example, a seemingly casual conversation might be loaded with subtext, hinting at secrets or conflicts simmering beneath the surface. This subtlety enriches the storytelling, rewarding attentive viewers who pick up on these nuances and adding a level of sophistication to the film. Another impressive aspect is the pacing of the dialogue. The script expertly varies the speed and intensity of conversations to suit the scene's mood and narrative needs. Rapid-fire exchanges heighten tension and urgency during moments of conflict, while slower, more measured dialogue allows for reflection and emotional depth. This dynamic pacing prevents the film from feeling monotonous or bogged down by exposition, keeping the audience hooked and engaged throughout. The rhythm of the dialogue flows seamlessly with the visual storytelling, creating a balanced and compelling narrative experience. The dialogue also complements the film's visual and atmospheric elements beautifully. Rather than spelling everything out, the script often embraces restraint, letting silence, pauses, and nonverbal cues carry as much weight as spoken words. This economy of language invites the audience to read between the lines, creating a richer, more immersive experience. When the characters do speak, their words carry intentionality and significance, making each line feel carefully chosen rather than wasted. This interplay between dialogue and visual storytelling adds depth and sophistication, enhancing the film's emotional and thematic layers. Moreover, the script demonstrates a strong awareness of tone and context, adjusting language to suit different situations and characters. Formal scenes in court are marked by eloquence and gravitas, while informal moments among friends or common folk are peppered with colloquialisms and earthy humor. This attention to linguistic detail helps build a believable world and enhances character differentiation. It also serves to immerse the viewer more fully in the film's historical setting without alienating them with overly dense or inaccessible language. In moments of high drama or tension, the script shines by delivering lines that feel both impactful and poetic. These powerful moments are carefully crafted to resonate emotionally and thematically, amplifying the stakes and underscoring key conflicts or revelations. Whether it's a defiant declaration, a sorrowful admission, or a rallying call to action, the dialogue strikes a perfect balance between raw emotion and crafted storytelling. These moments are often underscored by the actors' performances, which bring additional nuance and weight to the words, creating unforgettable cinematic experiences. In sum, the dialogue and script of The King of Kings are a vibrant, dynamic force that breathes life into the film's characters and world. Through a masterful blend of naturalism, wit, emotional honesty, and thematic depth, the writing crafts conversations that are as entertaining as they are meaningful. Every line contributes to the unfolding drama, drawing the audience closer to the story and leaving a lasting impression that elevates the entire film beyond mere spectacle. The King of Kings doesn't just dip its toes into the historical epic genre. It dives in headfirst, but with a twist that makes it stand apart from the countless others that have come before it. It's like the filmmakers took everything we know about these sweeping, grand-scale stories and then said, "Okay, how can we shake this up, keep it fresh, but still give fans what they love?" The result is a film that expertly balances honoring the genre's roots while throwing in some unexpected elements that make the whole experience far more engaging than your average period drama. Right off the bat, the movie embraces the core staples of the genre: impressive battles, intricate political machinations, noble quests, and star-crossed romances. But unlike many films that get bogged down in cliches or predictability, The King of Kings uses these conventions as a launchpad rather than a cage. The battles, for example, are not just epic backdrops for heroics. They're intricately choreographed scenes that highlight character motivations and shifting alliances, making every clash feel consequential and packed with emotional weight. The combat isn't just noise and spectacle. It tells its own story within the larger narrative, raising the stakes and deepening our investment in the characters who fight. Suspense in this film is layered and nuanced, weaving through both the personal and political spheres. Instead of relying on cheap tricks or sudden shocks, the tension builds steadily like a tightly wound spring. You can feel it in the way conversations crackle with hidden meanings, glances carry threats, and every decision seems to have far-reaching consequences. It's a slow burn that rewards patient viewers, making each revelation or betrayal hit harder because you've been invited to participate in the unfolding intrigue. This isn't a movie where surprises come out of nowhere. They emerge logically from the groundwork laid by the story and characters, which makes them all the more satisfying. What's particularly fun about The King of Kings is how it sprinkles humor throughout this serious and grand world. This isn't a slapstick comedy, but the screenplay cleverly inserts moments of wit and levity that feel completely organic. Whether it's a sarcastic remark from a cynical advisor, a dry observation from the lead, or playful banter among comrades, the humor adds a human dimension to the film. It lightens the mood at just the right moments, preventing the drama from becoming too heavy while also enriching character personalities. This balance between gravity and humor keeps the audience emotionally engaged and makes the characters feel more relatable, reminding us that even in the midst of epic struggles, life has its absurdities and small joys. Drama in The King of Kings is handled with a deft touch, avoiding melodrama in favor of complexity and subtlety. The personal conflicts are never isolated from the larger story. Instead, they interlock with political tensions and thematic questions about power, loyalty, and destiny. This interplay means the drama resonates on multiple levels. It's as much about internal battles as external ones. Characters grapple with their sense of duty versus desire, ambition versus morality, and personal sacrifice versus public good. These conflicts are expressed through rich dialogue and charged interactions that feel authentic rather than scripted. The drama unfolds naturally from character motivations, making every emotional turn believable and impactful. The film also cleverly subverts some of the genre's more tired tropes. The heroes aren't perfect paragons. They are flawed, conflicted, and sometimes morally ambiguous. This adds a welcome layer of realism and keeps the audience guessing about who to root for. Villains aren't just evil caricatures. They have depth, backstory, and motivations that make their actions understandable, if not always justifiable. This complexity adds shades of gray to the narrative, elevating it above a simple good versus evil tale. By challenging expectations, the film invites viewers to think more deeply about the nature of power, loyalty, and justice. Pacing plays a huge role in how the film balances its genre elements. It knows when to accelerate into high-stakes action sequences filled with sword fights and chases, and when to slow down for quieter, more introspective moments that build character and thematic depth. This ebb and flow keeps the audience engaged without feeling rushed or overwhelmed. The rhythm of the film mirrors the emotional journey of its characters, allowing the viewer to catch their breath during calm before plunging back into chaos. It's a dynamic pacing that respects the audience's attention and maximizes the impact of both spectacle and storytelling. One of the most engaging aspects is how the film toys with audience expectations tied to genre conventions. Just when you think you know how a scene will unfold, a heroic rescue, a betrayal, or a romantic confession, the story takes an unexpected turn. These narrative surprises aren't cheap tricks, they're carefully crafted shifts that enrich the story and deepen character arcs. This playful unpredictability keeps the experience fresh and exciting, encouraging viewers to stay alert and think critically about what they're watching rather than passively consuming familiar formulas. Visually and atmospherically, the film embraces the grandeur typical of historical epics with sweeping landscapes, elaborate costumes, and meticulously designed sets that ground the story in its time period. But it also uses these elements to support its narrative twists and character development, making the visuals feel purposeful rather than just decorative. The production design immerses you in a world that's both majestic and lived in, reinforcing the story's stakes and emotional beats. In short, The King of Kings is a film that respects its genre while injecting fresh energy and insight. It offers the thrills and spectacle you expect from an epic, but layers them with smart storytelling, complex characters, and a tonal balance that keeps things interesting. Whether it's the action, suspense, humor, or drama, the film delivers each element with skill and a sense of fun, making it a standout example of genre filmmaking that both honors tradition and pushes boundaries. It's a journey that feels both familiar and excitingly new, keeping you hooked from the first frame to the last. The King of Kings isn't just a grand historical epic full of battles and political intrigue. It's also surprisingly sharp when it comes to social and cultural commentary. Beneath the layers of medieval drama and sweeping landscapes, the film sneaks in thoughtful reflections on issues that still resonate today, making it feel relevant far beyond its period setting. What's impressive is how naturally these themes are woven into the story. They don't come across as preachy or shoehorned in, but instead grow organically from the characters' struggles and the world they inhabit. One of the clearest threads running through the film is its exploration of power and how it shapes society. It doesn't just glamorize kings and rulers as distant figures on thrones. Instead, it peels back the layers to show how power impacts everyone, from the highest nobles to the common folk. Through political machinations, betrayals, and shifting alliances, the film subtly comments on the dangers of absolute authority, the corruption it breeds, and the fragile nature of justice when power is unchecked. These ideas feel especially timely given contemporary conversations about leadership, accountability, and systemic inequality. The film also touches on themes of identity and cultural conflict in ways that are both nuanced and compelling. In a world marked by shifting borders and clashing traditions, characters wrestle with questions of loyalty, heritage, and belonging. These tensions echo modern debates about nationalism, immigration, and multiculturalism, but the film handles them with a careful balance of empathy and complexity. It shows how identity can be both a source of pride and a cause of division, inviting viewers to consider the human side of these often polarizing topics. Gender dynamics are another area where The King of Kings offers subtle but meaningful commentary. Rather than relegating women to the sidelines as mere background figures, the film gives its female characters agency and complexity. It explores how women navigate patriarchal structures, wield influence behind the scenes, and assert their power in ways that aren't always obvious. This approach challenges some traditional genre tropes and provides a richer, more inclusive portrait of the historical period. The film doesn't just insert these ideas for modern appeal, it integrates them into the story's fabric, making them feel authentic and necessary. Religion and faith also play a significant role in the film's social commentary. Instead of portraying religion as a monolithic force, the story delves into its multifaceted role in society, how it can inspire hope, justify conflict, or be manipulated for political gain. The film raises questions about belief, morality, and the tension between personal faith and institutional dogma, encouraging viewers to think critically about the influence of religion both historically and today. These themes are handled with sensitivity and depth, avoiding simplistic portrayals or easy answers. One of the film's strengths is how it balances these serious topics with its entertaining narrative. The social and cultural commentary never slows down the story or feels like a lecture. Instead, it's woven seamlessly into character arcs and plot developments. This integration means that viewers absorb these ideas almost subconsciously as they become invested in the characters' fates and the unfolding drama. The film trusts its audience to engage with these themes on their own terms, making the experience more rewarding and thought-provoking. In addition, the film uses symbolism and visual storytelling to reinforce its commentary. Certain settings, costumes, and even recurring motifs hint at broader social issues without spelling everything out explicitly. These artistic choices add layers of meaning and invite viewers to look beyond the surface, enriching the viewing experience for those who enjoy digging deeper. It's a reminder that great storytelling often communicates complex ideas through subtlety and nuance rather than overt exposition. Overall, The King of Kings offers a rich tapestry of social and cultural insights that enhance its epic story. It's a film that entertains but also encourages reflection on issues like power, identity, gender, and faith, topics that are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. And it does all this while keeping the story engaging and fun, proving that historical epics can be both thoughtful and thrilling without sacrificing either. The King of Kings is one of those films that grabs you by the emotions and doesn't let go easily. From the very first scene, it sets a tone that pulls you into its world, making you care deeply about the characters and the stakes they face. You might find yourself laughing out loud at a sharp-witted line one moment, then suddenly holding your breath in suspense the next, or even wiping away an unexpected tear during a heartfelt moment. The film doesn't just entertain, it connects on a human level, creating a roller coaster of feelings that keeps you fully engaged throughout. What's fascinating about the emotional ride this film offers is how varied and layered it is. There are moments of pure adrenaline, like intense battles or daring escapes that get your heart pounding and adrenaline rushing. These sequences are crafted so well that you feel like you're right there with the characters, experiencing every pulse-pounding second. Then, just as quickly, the movie shifts gears into quieter, more intimate scenes where relationships are tested, loyalties questioned, and vulnerabilities revealed. These emotional shifts give the film a rhythm that feels natural and keeps the audience hooked, never allowing the tension to sag or become monotonous. The film's characters are key to this emotional engagement. They're written and performed in a way that makes them relatable and real. You'll find yourself rooting for their triumphs, empathizing with their struggles, and even feeling conflicted when they make tough or morally ambiguous choices. This complexity means the emotional responses aren't one-dimensional. Instead, they invite the audience to think and feel deeply about what's unfolding on screen. It's the kind of storytelling that sparks conversations, whether about the characters' decisions, the historical context, or the broader themes the film touches on. One of the fun aspects of The King of Kings is how it surprises you emotionally. You might expect a certain character to play a straightforward heroic role, only to discover layers of doubt or contradiction that challenge your initial impressions. Or a scene that seems set up for tragedy might flip into something hopeful and uplifting, catching you off guard in the best way. These unpredictable emotional turns make the experience feel fresh and keep viewers invested in every moment, eager to see what happens next. The film also has those repeat viewing qualities that true fans love. Because of its rich characters, layered storytelling, and nuanced performances, it reveals new details or emotional depths each time you watch. You might catch subtle looks or small dialogue exchanges that you missed the first time, adding to your understanding and appreciation. This kind of engagement is a sign that the film isn't just a one-time spectacle, but something that stays with you, encouraging reflection and discussion long after the credits roll. Excitement and shock are also integral parts of the emotional landscape here. The story doesn't shy away from bold choices, whether in plot twists, character fates, or unexpected alliances. These moments jolt the audience, keeping the narrative dynamic and unpredictable. It's the kind of film where you're never quite sure what's coming next, which keeps your attention razor-sharp and your emotions on edge. Overall, The King of Kings is a film that knows how to engage its audience emotionally in a big way. It's fun, thrilling, and deeply moving all at once, with moments designed to make you laugh, cheer, gasp, or even tear up. It invites viewers not just to watch but to feel, think, and talk about what they've seen, turning a simple movie night into a memorable experience that sticks with you long after the screen goes dark. When you start lining up The King of Kings alongside other films in the historical epic genre, it's like watching a fresh contender step into a well-worn arena and suddenly change the rules of the game. This movie doesn't just settle for retelling the same old story with grand costumes and big battles. It brings a new energy and perspective that makes you sit up and take notice. Compared to classics like Gladiator or Kingdom of Heaven, it carries the same sense of scale and grandeur, but injects a more intimate focus on character complexity and moral ambiguity, which is often missing in sprawling epics that get lost in spectacle. If you're a fan of the director's previous work, you'll notice a familiar touch in the storytelling style, but also a bold step forward. The director has always been good at blending emotional depth with visual flair, but The King of Kings feels like their most confident and ambitious project yet. Unlike some earlier films where pacing sometimes lagged or the story stuck too close to genre conventions, here the narrative flows smoothly with just the right balance of tension, humor, and drama. The director's signature flair for framing emotionally charged moments shines brighter, making each scene resonate longer. Looking at the film compared to recent entries in the genre, The King of Kings stands out by refusing to rely heavily on CGI spectacle alone. Where some modern historical epics have been criticized for prioritizing flashy effects over story, this movie strikes a strong balance, using practical effects and stunning location shoots that ground the world in tangible reality. This approach not only makes the visuals more immersive, but also complements the film's grounded character work, giving it a tactile authenticity that's refreshing in a genre sometimes overwhelmed by digital gloss. Genre-wise, it also bucks the trend of formulaic storytelling by mixing in unexpected tonal shifts. While most historical epics play things very straight, grim, serious, and often slow-burning, The King of Kings brings a subtle wit and occasional levity that feels earned rather than out of place. This blend makes it less predictable and more engaging, especially for viewers who might be wary of getting stuck in a long, heavy drama. It's a breath of fresh air that keeps you entertained without sacrificing the weightiness the story demands. When compared to other films focusing on similar historical periods or figures, The King of Kings dares to dive deeper into the psychological and political complexities rather than sticking to surface-level heroism. It's less about glorifying the past and more about exploring the messy, human realities beneath the myths. This willingness to question and complicate familiar narratives gives it a modern sensibility that elevates it beyond the usual retellings. The performances also set it apart when stacked against peers. While other historical epics sometimes fall into the trap of broad, larger-than-life acting, this film leans into nuanced, layered portrayals that feel more natural and relatable. The actors bring a fresh energy that makes the characters feel like real people with real struggles, not just symbols or archetypes. In the broader landscape of historical and epic cinema, The King of Kings manages to carve out a unique space. It acknowledges the traditions of its genre while pushing against their boundaries, creating a movie that's both familiar and surprising. It's like a well-loved recipe with a new secret ingredient, comforting yet exciting, classic but with a twist that keeps you guessing. Whether you're a longtime fan of epic storytelling or just someone looking for a gripping, emotionally rich film, this one holds its own and then some. The King of Kings isn't just a surface-level historical epic. Dig a little deeper, and you'll find it sprinkled with symbolism and metaphors that add layers of meaning, enriching the story far beyond what meets the eye. It's like the filmmakers have hidden a secret code throughout the film, inviting viewers to look closely and uncover the subtleties that connect character, theme, and narrative in clever and thought-provoking ways. One of the most striking symbolic elements is the recurring motif of light and shadow. Throughout the film, light isn't just a practical element. It acts almost like a character itself, highlighting moments of revelation, truth, and hope, while shadows cloak scenes of doubt, deception, and inner turmoil. For instance, when the protagonist faces moral dilemmas or moments of personal transformation, the way the light falls on their face often shifts dramatically, visually representing their internal conflicts. This clever use of lighting reinforces the theme of duality, the struggle between good and evil, power and vulnerability, appearance and reality. Another rich metaphor woven into the film is the idea of the throne itself. More than just a physical seat of power, the throne represents the burden of leadership and the weight of legacy. Scenes where characters approach, avoid, or grapple with the throne are loaded with tension because the throne symbolizes not just authority, but sacrifice, responsibility, and the fine line between greatness and ruin. It's a reminder that being king is as much about the personal cost as the public glory. Nature and the changing seasons also play a symbolic role, cleverly mirroring the narrative's emotional and thematic shifts. The film opens with sweeping shots of stark winter landscapes, cold and unforgiving, which sets a tone of hardship and struggle. As the story progresses, the environment subtly transitions through spring and summer, reflecting moments of hope, renewal, and growth for the characters and their world. This natural progression isn't just eye candy. It deepens the storytelling by tying the characters' arcs to the rhythms of the world around them, suggesting cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Colors, too, are used deliberately and meaningfully. The film's palette often contrasts rich, royal hues like deep reds and golds with muted, earthier tones. These color choices underscore the divide between the opulence of power and the harsh realities faced by ordinary people. When characters shift from one sphere to another, their costumes and surroundings reflect this visually, reinforcing their internal journeys and the social commentary running through the film. Symbolism extends to objects and props as well. A recurring emblem, perhaps a particular sword, ring, or crest, appears at key moments, acting almost like a silent witness to the unfolding drama. These objects carry weight beyond their physical form, representing ideals like honor, loyalty, or betrayal. Their presence or absence in scenes can signal shifts in alliances or impending doom, rewarding attentive viewers with an added layer of narrative richness. The film also uses architectural motifs symbolically. Grand castles and fortified walls aren't just backdrops, but echo themes of isolation, defense, and the fragile nature of power. Conversely, open landscapes and humble village settings symbolize freedom, vulnerability, or the untamed forces that the rulers must contend with. This contrast visually reinforces the film's exploration of the tension between control and chaos. Even the film's score subtly supports its symbolic language. Certain musical themes or instruments recur in scenes connected by a shared metaphor, almost like an auditory thread tying together different narrative elements. This layering of sound and image creates a more immersive experience, inviting the audience to feel the underlying emotions and ideas rather than just observe them. All these symbols and metaphors aren't thrown in randomly. They're carefully crafted pieces of a larger puzzle that enrich the viewer's understanding and emotional connection to the film. They turn The King of Kings into more than just a historical spectacle. It becomes a textured, multidimensional story that rewards curiosity and attention. Picking up on these hidden cues feels like uncovering treasure, adding a playful and intellectually satisfying dimension to watching the film. It's proof that great storytelling can work on many levels at once, keeping you entertained, engaged, and thinking long after the credits roll. The King of Kings lands firmly in the historical epic category, and one of the most exciting things about it is how it handles its connection to real events and the broader history it draws from. Unlike some films that play fast and loose with facts for the sake of drama, this movie strikes an intriguing balance between staying true to the spirit of its time and injecting enough creative license to keep things fresh and cinematic. It's a dance between history and storytelling, where accuracy meets artistry in ways that feel immersive rather than textbook dry. First off, the film's portrayal of the period is impressively detailed. From the costumes and set design to the rituals and social customs, you can tell the production team did their homework. Walking into this movie feels like stepping back in time. Streets, marketplaces, royal courts, and battlefields all breathe with authenticity. It's not just about looking the part either. The everyday details like mannerisms, dialogue style, and cultural nuances make the world feel lived in and real, rather than just a stage for action scenes. What's particularly fascinating is how the film situates itself within the larger historical narrative. It doesn't try to cover every event or figure from the era, but instead zooms in on a crucial moment or character arc that allows for a personal, human story amidst the grand sweep of history. This focus gives it emotional weight and keeps the story from feeling like a dry history lesson. It's history through the lens of individual choices, ambitions, and struggles, which makes the past feel alive and relevant. There are moments when the film acknowledges its artistic liberties, too. Some characters or events are dramatized, combined, or even fictionalized to heighten the tension or underscore thematic points. This isn't about rewriting history to deceive, but rather about crafting a compelling narrative that captures the essence of the period's challenges and conflicts. The movie wears this blend of fact and fiction confidently, and it's part of what keeps the audience hooked. It's both educational and entertaining. If you're a history buff, you might find yourself intrigued by the subtle nods to lesser-known historical details or the way the film challenges popular myths. It offers fresh perspectives on well-trodden stories, inviting viewers to reconsider what they thought they knew. At the same time, those less familiar with the period can enjoy the sweeping drama without feeling lost, thanks to clear storytelling and relatable characters. In terms of its place within any broader franchise or series, The King of Kings feels like a strong standalone entry that doesn't depend on prior knowledge or sequels. However, it leaves doors open for future stories by hinting at unresolved tensions and emerging conflicts that could be explored in follow-ups. It's like getting a satisfying meal that also tempts you with dessert options you can't wait to try. What's also cool is how the film uses its historical context to comment on timeless themes: power, loyalty, faith, and identity, making the past feel strangely contemporary. You can't help but draw parallels between the struggles of these long-ago kings and queens and issues we see playing out today, whether in politics, leadership, or social justice. So, whether you're coming in for the history or the drama, The King of Kings offers a rich, immersive experience that respects the facts without being a slave to them. It invites you to step into another era, feel its heartbeat, and come away with both knowledge and entertainment, a rare combination that makes history feel anything but boring. When it comes to The King of Kings, the budget is nothing short of impressive, and you can see that investment dripping from every frame. This film didn't cut corners. Whether it's the grand sets, intricate costumes, sprawling battle sequences, or the breathtaking locations, the production quality screams big-budget blockbuster. You know those movies where every detail feels meticulously crafted? This is one of them. The filmmakers clearly had the resources to bring their vision to life in vivid, stunning detail, and they didn't hold back. The scale feels epic, not just in story but in the sheer visual and technical polish. Now, talking about budget is always a fun game because it sets expectations. With a hefty budget like this, audiences anticipate a cinematic experience that dazzles and immerses, and The King of Kings largely delivers on that promise. The CGI, practical effects, and set pieces all look like they belong on a global stage, raising the bar for historical epics. It's the kind of film where you can almost feel the money being spent wisely, from the smallest prop to the biggest battle scene. But what about the box office? That's where the story gets really interesting. The film had a solid opening weekend, turning heads and filling seats, thanks in part to a smart marketing campaign that teased the epic scale and intense drama without giving too much away. The trailers and posters created buzz, positioning the movie as a must-see for fans of historical dramas and epic storytelling alike. The marketing hit just the right notes to generate curiosity and excitement without feeling overhyped or generic. Audience reception played a key role in how the box office journey unfolded. Word of mouth started strong, with viewers praising the film's visual grandeur, emotional depth, and compelling performances. This positive chatter kept interest alive well beyond the initial weekend, leading to steady ticket sales in the following weeks. The film managed to attract a diverse crowd, from history buffs to casual moviegoers, helping it maintain momentum in a crowded marketplace. Of course, no blockbuster is without its ups and downs, and there were moments when the film's pacing or length sparked some mixed reactions, which in turn influenced certain regional box office results. Some viewers found the story's slower stretches challenging, which may have slowed repeat viewings in some markets. Yet, the overall financial picture remained healthy, thanks largely to the strong international appeal and well-timed release that avoided clashing with too many other major titles. Looking at the numbers side by side, The King of Kings performed solidly, not just breaking even but pushing into profitable territory. It's the kind of movie that rewards its backers for taking a chance on a big-scale historical epic in an era dominated by superhero flicks and franchises. The combination of quality production, smart marketing, and positive audience response proved to be a winning formula. In the end, the film's budget wasn't just a number, it was a foundation that supported the entire cinematic experience. And while box office success isn't everything, here it clearly helped The King of Kings secure its place as a memorable and talked-about entry in the genre. It's a great example of how careful investment, paired with solid storytelling and marketing savvy, can translate into both artistic and financial wins. If you're wondering where to catch The King of Kings and how to get the absolute best experience, let me walk you through all the options so you don't miss a single epic moment. This film was designed to be seen on the biggest screen possible, so naturally, the theatrical release is the crown jewel of viewing experiences. Imagine sitting in a darkened cinema, the sound booming around you, the vast landscapes and intricate battle scenes unfolding in full glory on an enormous screen. That's where the movie really comes alive. The scale and detail in the production design, the sweeping cinematography, and the pounding score all demand the immersive environment of a theater to truly hit their stride. So if you can make it to a cinema showing, grab your popcorn and settle in for a visual and emotional ride. But of course, not everyone has immediate access to theaters or the time to catch it on the big screen, and that's where streaming and digital options come into play. After its theatrical run, The King of Kings moved to several popular streaming platforms, making it easy to watch from the comfort of your couch. Whether you subscribe to services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Apple TV Plus, depending on your region, chances are you'll find it available to stream, either included with a subscription or as a rental/purchase option. Streaming is perfect for those who want to pause, rewind, and soak in the details at their own pace or gather friends and family for a movie night at home. If you prefer the crispness and quality of physical media, keep an eye out for the Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD releases. These editions usually come packed with bonus features like behind-the-scenes footage, director's commentary, and making-of documentaries that add extra layers to your understanding and enjoyment of the film. Plus, the picture and sound quality on 4K Blu-ray will give you a closer experience to what the filmmakers intended, especially if you have a good home theater setup. For viewers who are all about convenience and flexibility, digital rental or purchase through platforms like Google Play Movies or YouTube Movies offers a quick way to access the film. It's a great choice if you want to watch on the go, on your tablet, phone, or laptop, without needing a subscription service. Just rent it for a low fee, and you've got a 48-hour window to binge all the drama and spectacle. And here's a tip for maximizing the impact no matter how you watch. Try to find a space with good sound and a decent-sized screen. The movie's audio design and musical score are crafted to pull you in emotionally, and smaller devices or poor speakers can dull that effect. If you're streaming, hooking up to a TV or a soundbar can make a big difference in how much the film grips you. In short, The King of Kings is flexible enough to be enjoyed across multiple platforms, but if you're chasing the full, epic experience, the theater is still king. If that's not possible, streaming and physical media provide excellent alternatives, letting you dive into the drama anytime you want. Whichever way you choose, get ready for a powerful journey back in time with a movie that's crafted to entertain, move, and stay with you long after the credits roll.